Text BRITT to 30400. That's BRITT to 30400. Now for your free car wash. And see why Britain's touchless car wash is the fast, gentle, and reliable choice.
It's time to wake up and get on the rise with all things Chicago sports. And your host, Mike Napolitano.
I'm Italian. I get yelled at all the time. This is normal for me. Are you kidding me?
I love it.
With the Italians, we get really high, we get really emotional, and then we bring it right back down. And I'm just in the right back down part right now.
Dalton Cooper.
I think this is the year. I think this is the year he throws for over 4,000 yards. I think Ben Johnson has an understanding of how to take a quarterback and elevate. We've seen what he's done with Jared Goff. Obviously, Jared Goff had gotten his Super Bowl, and he was working with Sean McVay, but.
And Brandon Combs.
To tell me that a guy in Barry Bonds, who in 2004 has more hits and intentional walks than swings and misses. For a guy who watches Luis Robert and cheers him on, you're going to tell me Barry Bonds does not belong in the Hall of Fame? You are out of your mind, sir.
On WRMN 1410 AM, the voice of the Valley.
Good morning and welcome into On the Rise here as a part of the River Media Network Sports Saturdays at AM 1410 WRMN. I'm your host, Mike Napolitano. Alongside my co-hosts, we've got Dalton Cooper to my left. Dalton, how are we doing?
Good. Are you awake?
I am awake. We are ready to go here. Coming in from Zoom, we have Brandon Combs. Brandon, what's going on with you, my man?
What's going on, boys? Can you guys hear me all right? Zoom's acting up. I didn't even hear the music on the intro, and I can't see your lovely faces.
Oh, no. Well, I mean... Yeah, we could see
probably
you.
A benefit for me, though, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the other way around. You're getting the win here, but we also have on the board Nick Johnston. Nick, how's your week been going?
I'm doing all right. Ready to roll. Ready to talk some sports.
Well, we have plenty of sports to talk about today, as we have been at pretty much everything here. Our cast of On the Rise and the River Media Network Sports Group here at WRMN in and of itself. We start off here, though, we got to recap a little bit of the NBA Finals. We didn't get a chance to run down Game 7, the best two words in all of sports. The championship going to Oklahoma City, as I think we all expected, but I don't know if anybody had this pegged to go 7 games and also have such an incredible storyline. Unfortunately, Tyrese Halliburton gets injured early in this Game 7. And there was, I think you had said it in the chat, Dalton. You said the Pacers can respond one of two ways to this. They can completely fall apart because they've lost Halliburton, their star, who's going to carry them. He had been 3 for 5 in threes for that night. So coming up with 9 points in just the few minutes that he played before the injury. But then, of course, they could respond the other way and take the reins and fight for Halliburton, who couldn't fight for himself. And unfortunately, they just ran into too much of a juggernaut of OKC, 103-91 your final. And Oklahoma City gets its first title.
Yeah. And they were leading at halftime, too. The Pacers were. Am I muted, by the way?
I think you are.
There we go. Oh. Yeah, there we go. And if people forget, the Pacers were up by 1 at halftime in that game. So the third quarter was definitely the turning point. The Oklahoma City Thunder defense really took over, and honestly, that's what carried them to this championship. If you look at a lot of their offensive metrics, I think they were 13th in efficiency rating. They were, I think they shot under 31%, like 13 out of their 16 games in the postseason from 3, and that was definitely not the case in the regular season. So. Yeah, good on the Thunder. I think the Thunder needed to win this championship because I think if they don't win this championship, I think it's just the fuel to the fire to sell the farm to get Giannis. So I think it's very interesting that they win the way they did. Sam Presti finally gets his championship that was very well earned and deserved. So, but honestly, I think this is just the start. Again, I've already asked this question, but I think this is going to be the worst iteration of the Thunder that we see for a long time.
Yeah, it's a scary thought. Brandon, your thoughts on that Game 7 and, of course, Oklahoma coming away with the championship?
Yeah, just gut-wrenched for Tyrese Halliburton. I talked about this, a lot this week. It's just like these athletes, man, when they are kids, they start giving up a lot of stuff to get to these points that they're at. They start giving up, time with their families. They work hard because to become a professional athlete, I mean, it's a grind from the time you're like 7. It's everybody thinks, oh, you're just so good. You just go out and you play your seasons and you do this and you do that. No, these guys play year round at whatever sport they go professional at. And they play, sometimes some of these guys leave home to go play in these things. So, to see this kid in Game 7 get to that point, man, it was gut wrenching. And I felt for him. I think that is ultimately what stopped the Pacers from being able to win that game. As soon as that happened to Halliburton, I felt like that team, even though they put up a little bit of a fight, I just felt like they knew, damn, we're done. You know what I mean? Like as soon as that Achilles popped for Tyrese, it was lights out for the Pacers.
Yeah, they kept it close. I think at one point it was 42 or 43-42. Like they had a lead at one point. They were keeping it consistent, but yeah, just not enough star power, not enough talent towards the end. Everyone was just petered out and done. It's just really tough if Pascal Siakam is basically the leading the way. But my biggest takeaway, honestly, was probably just, I don't know, maybe the high school pep rally style of the award or the trophy ceremony that happened in Oklahoma. I get it. I'll give it to you. It's hot out there. It's hot. But, I mean, that was abysmal. That was brutal. If that's your first championship, you guys were itching and screaming. If you guys really wanted one that bad, that was the turnout?
Yeah. Or Hartenstein's kid sleeping through the whole thing. That was really adorable. Yeah, he was like holding the trophy, like holding the baby. That was really funny. But, to your point, Tyrese Halliburton led the Pacers and made threes in the game. Yeah. So I don't know if you knew that or not. But yeah, tough. And he had a scheduled tweet that went out for like a WWE thing because he's got a character, I guess, in the video game coming out. So it was just funny how how he posted like a picture of, obviously he wrote out that letter or whatever on X. God, I can't think of the app, but yeah, he wrote out like the heartfelt thing, and then he's like, "By the way, my character's available in WWE." So that was kind of like a poorly timed tweet. That was probably scheduled.
Yikes! What is that one Twitter account that's like images of unfortunate events that precede? Images of things that precede unfortunate events. Yep. So an Achilles tear for Tyrese Halliburton. So that is probably going to leave him out all of next season. I think you had brought it up. 3 number zeros tearing their Achilles. All Achilles.
All in the postseason.
It was Tyrese Halliburton,
Damian Lillard, and Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
but here's the thing: even with Tyrese Halliburton probably going to be out for majority of the year, I don't think the Pacers are going to be out. The East is going to be so wide open next year. West is going to be so top heavy with probably OKC. I'll throw my Timberwolves in there, and then now the Houston Rockets now. Yeah. But the East is going to be, I can name 6 or 7 different teams that could probably represent the East next year just because it's going to be wide open.
Can I sell you on Orlando?
You can't name.
Who's that, Brandon?
The Bulls.
The Bulls. There we go. I'm saying the Magic, but let's transition.
We'll give your take that you were going to go with there, and then we'll transition right into.
No, I just think you got to look out for the Magic. I think them acquiring
Desmond
Bane. Yeah, he's going to stretch the floor for them. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. They got Banchero, who's going to be a dog, just a superstar in his own right. And in Detroit, you can watch out for the Pistons too. Cade Cunningham's really good.
I think they're going to be a 4 or 5 seed next year, or maybe even probably a 3 seed.
I think they learned a lot from that Knicks series too, because they were in that series for sure. But let's transition to some Bulls.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, congratulations, Grant, one of our listeners and good friend of the show. He gets his championship, but like you said, it was a little tough to see the camera panning around on the parade, and there weren't that many that we're used to at a championship parade like it would be here in Chicago. But here in Chicago, there's no championship parades anytime soon because of the fact that the Bulls had the 12th overall pick in the draft. We were mentioning this last week, and we were all kind of sitting here with crickets because we couldn't really tell you too much about who was expected to go at 12th. And I think even after selecting, we can tell you just about as much as we did last week as far as who the Bulls took. There's not a whole lot out there. It's forward Noah Essenge of France at the 12th pick. ESPN did have him slotted to go 9th overall in the draft, so he did drop a little bit, so that's a good sign in some cases for this Bulls team. This was the first European player taken in the 2025 draft. The previous 11 picks We're all local. But boys, does this replace Patrick Williams? It looks like could be going forward.
It depends on how far his shooting comes along. He's got the size and athleticism from everything I've read. He averaged 18 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 18 appearances, and plays about 30 minutes a game. So, I think that's ultimately what it's going to come down to is, obviously he's got the size, the speed. He plays great defense. He's a good rim protector, too. So I think it's just going to come down to how well they can develop him into a shooter, especially the way the floor gets stretched in today's NBA.
Honestly,
yeah, he replaces. He replaces Patrick Williams in the essence that he's just another guy that's going to be on the floor that probably shouldn't be on the floor. Another project. He's a guy that you look at this kid and you look at some of the things that he does in France. I mean, basically, anytime you breathe in his face, he's going to fly 4 feet down the court and take a flop. Like that's what this kid's game is just built off of.
Is it?
I don't understand. It's what I said last week, right? Just pick a random European.
You were right about that.
I didn't understand you leave Queen on the board, you leave Carter Bryant on the board. I mean, 2 guys who probably would be ready to play this year. I don't think that's going to be the case with SNK. I think this kid is a complete project, and it's just another. I don't know. It's just another AK miss for me.
I'm looking around at grades. They're giving the Bulls a lot of high grades, especially for this pick. So again, I don't know enough about the kid either which way to be mad or to be sad about it. Again, project is the word that's being thrown around. That's fine. He's 18, going on 19 years old. He's going to get a little longer. The only thing I did say was get ready to learn Hoffman Estates, pal. You're probably going to be in the G League, which again is not bad at all. Again, being the size and length that he is, he's going to get stronger. He'll adapt to the league. I'm okay with it. Again, the only thing I'm not okay was with, yes, Derek Queen was on the board right there, and then the Pelicans swoop him up immediately after. They were probably the quickest one. And I don't know if you guys saw. I think our guy Zion Williamson misinterpreted. He's like, "Oh, we drafted Dairy Queen." No, it's Derek Queen. Sorry.
Nice.
So that was about it. Like I said, there's some potential there.
Yeah, Queen and Bryant went 13th and 14th overall to the New Orleans Pelicans and the Atlanta Hawks, respectively.
Oh wait,
the Hawks got right, yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, what was confusing for me too was leaving those 2 names on the board. But like I said, this Asenge was expected to go 9th overall and dropped, so that's a good sign that the Bulls knew what they were doing here.
Second best forward behind Cooper Flag in there. So
just so used to the Bears screwing up a draft.
Yeah. Well, pick a Chicago team. Yep, they've screwed up a draft. Although we will get to a Chicago team that I don't believe screwed up a first round of a draft in a little while.
Really?
But
Is it time to move on from AK?
The extensions were not needed. I'll just say that because I don't know if this Bulls team has a direction still. Here comes the 4th straight play-in loss to the Miami Heat in 2026.
Oh, this is a play-in team to you? I don't even think it's. I think for the first time in probably 30 years, we can finally say that we are actually tanking the correct way by taking a project.
Oof.
I mean, he is the second youngest player in the draft. He was born in 2006. He's literally born in December 18th of 2006. I mean, he is literally 3 days younger or 3 days older than Cooper Flag.
Are they going through a rebuild before they finish the rebuild?
Yes, I surely do hope so because it's the only way that this franchise is going to go anywhere. And God knows the NBA needs Chicago to have a respectable NBA team. It's the only way to grow. That would be huge for the league.
I can understand that, but
sports life. I hate it.
But as a Bulls fan and as a Chicagoan, you look and you see in the second round that they traded the 45th overall pick to the 55th overall pick and cash considerations. Now, I'm not saying a 45th overall pick is going to make or break your team here or even in the future. But, I mean, they didn't even hesitate to make that move. And you are in no position as a Bulls organization to trade back in this draft. I mean, you need to acquire assets that are not just straight cash. You need to be able to put a roster out there competitively, even if you are quote unquote tanking, or even if you are taking project pieces and sending them to Hoffman Estates to play for the G League. I mean, I just, this one baffles me, but I think we all know what the reasoning behind it is.
This is a Jerry Reinsdorf owned team.
Yeah.
He is just like Randy Moss, straight cash home.
I was just saying we really needed that washing machine. That's all I could think of. It's like we really needed that new washing machine. That's why we needed the cash.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The Bulls and look, I fell out of the NBA a while ago. Like, and these playoffs reeled me back in, and I was like, wow, it was actually really fun to watch these playoffs, and maybe the game's starting to go in a direction where I could get back into it. And then my team does this in the draft, and I'm like, all right, just playoffs. I'll just watch playoffs because it's so bad, man. This fan base deserves so much better. This organization deserves so much better. Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm baffled as well. But we have still some baseball to enjoy, even though basketball season is over. We've got the White Sox on the way here on the rise, as well as the Cubs and a little bit of minor leagues here. So stick around, and we will be talking all things Chicago baseball right here on AM 1410 WRMN.
Systems run everything. Government, economy, media, justice. They shape your choices, your opportunities, your future. But do they work for you or against you? On Apolitical Talk Show, we break them down. Not to destroy, but to understand. Because if you don't see how the system works, you won't see when it's being manipulated or who's benefiting from it. Power belongs to those who know the rules, challenge the loopholes, and demand accountability. That starts with knowledge. That starts here. Join us weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. as we uncover what's really happening behind the headlines so you can decide for yourself what's fair, what's broken, and what needs to change. Apolitical Talk Show, breaking down the systems to build them up together. Right here, weekdays 4 to 6 on WRMN, the talk of the town.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. That's 800-760-1845.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding a unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Listen this Sunday afternoon to Handle on the Law.
I know we're at an at-will date, but for making a comment, like, hey, your hair looks good. And then I got a call from HR saying, hey, you know what, you're under investigation. Do I have any recourse?
Were you fired?
No, not yet.
The problem, Eddie, is they can fire you for any reason they want. They literally can wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm a little bored this morning. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to fire Eddie for no reason. Yep, he can do that. Yeah, that's California. Yep, welcome.
It's Handle on the Law this Sunday afternoon from 4 to 7 right here on WRMN. For nearly 50 years, the DuPage Senior Citizens Council and Kane Senior Council have been dedicated to serving seniors in DuPage and Kane counties. Established in 1975, the DuPage Senior Citizens Council is a volunteer-driven 501c3 non-for-profit organization committed to helping older adults live with dignity. From providing nutritious meals to offering support services, the Kane Senior Council is there every step of the way. With programs designed to enhance independence and quality of life, they're proud to make a difference in the lives of their senior neighbors. To learn more or to volunteer, visit them at 418B Airport Road in Elgin or head to their website at caneseniorcouncil.org. Give them a call at 630-338-0000 630-338-0999. That's 630-338-0999. That's the Kane Senior Council, caring for seniors because they deserve to live with dignity and respect. Visit caneseniorcouncil.org or call 630-338-0999 today.
Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise with Nick Johnston on the board, Brandon Combs over Zoom, and Dalton Cooper to my left. I'm Mike Napolitano, and it has been a very important week for the Northsiders. The Cubs were in a gruesome 4-game battle with the St. Louis Cardinals, their rivals, and the Cardinals are chasing the Cubs in the division, so this was an important one. Unfortunately for the Cubs, they dropped the first 2 games, an 8-2 loss and an 8-7 loss to St. Louis, but they even up the series with back-to-back shutouts. The Cubs split with that St. Louis team. In the conclusion of the series, it had featured former Cub Wilson Contreras taking offense to being hit, kind of grazed by a pitch, which was clearly not intentional because, as Nick said in our group chat, he said, why would you want to hit someone to bring the tying run to the plate in the bottom of the 9th, which makes all the sense in the world. Palencia struck out the next 3 batters to get out of the jab, but Contreras wasn't done yapping, and even from first base, as the game had ended, the dugouts started to clear because of this altercation. Brandon, we'll go to you as our resident Cubs expert. What has this St. Louis series been like?
I mean, it's exactly what you expect out of a Cubs-Cardinals series, right? You had 2 blowouts and 2 really close games, and the Cubs not able to pull out that game on Tuesday night where they lost 8-7. They battled back. There was a lot of, unfortunately, Dansby Swanson batting in the 5-hole came up twice with a chance to tie the game late in the game and rolled over on a ball once and then popped out the other time. And, it's unfortunately what you come to expect from Dansby Swanson, which is why I, for the life of me, cannot understand why he still hits in the 5-hole. I don't know. I'd have to have Craig Counsell explain it to me like I'm 5 years old for me to make it make sense, because maybe there is a reason, and maybe it does make sense. I'll never say that I'm a smarter baseball person than Craig Counsell. So I just need to hear, though, because I'm not seeing it, right? Like, I'm not seeing why a guy in Dansby Swanson who is hitting, I think, 114 with runners in scoring position this year is batting 5th. And a guy like Michael Busch and Nico Horner, who is batting 414 with runners in scoring position, is batting 7th. Like, it just doesn't, it's not computing with me. So they lose that game, but then they come out the next 2 days and they don't allow a run. And then last night they go into the Houston and they lose 7-4. Cam Smith hits a home run. That's been a problem with Horton. I mean, he had 2 bad pitches last night. Both of them were 3-run home runs.
The Astros at home have also been just invincible. So it's a tough stretch right now for them.
Yeah, and Cade Horton, Cade Horton, I believe has allowed at least 1 home run in every start that he's made since coming up, and he's allowed multiple home runs in I think all but 1 start since he's come up. But the thing is, a lot of them have been solo home runs, so his ERA has stayed down, his innings pitch have stayed up. He usually bounces back well from them. He's just got to figure out how to not give up the long ball every time out. It's been a decent way. You play 2 really good teams. You're playing the Astros at home, and as Nick said, they're playing really well right now. You can still win the series. Go out tonight and have a good game, and then you got Framber Valdez on Sunday. So good luck with that, because that dude's been ridiculous. I believe he's going up against Colin Ray, so that should be fun. But the Cardinals series was, it was good. It was what you expected from a Cardinals series. The end. Wilson Contreras.
If your idea of therapy involves a fishing rod, a tree stand, or a campfire, then you need American Outdoors Radio. Host John Cruz speaks your language, whether it's about the best lures, tracking game, or that one buddy who always forgets to bring the beer. John's got the tips to sharpen your aim, the hacks to pack lighter, and the stories to keep you entertained. Again, that's American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz. Saturdays at 7 a.m. on WRMN 1410. Or stream it at WRMN1410.com. Get ready to outfish, outhunt, and outcamp 'em all on American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz.
Are you dreaming of a getaway? Want to leave the stress of daily life behind? Whether it's a relaxing cruise or an adventurous land escape, planning the perfect vacation doesn't have to be a hassle. At Cruises International, they specialize in vacation destinations, land and sea, making your dreams come true. Located at 1721 Moon Lake Boulevard in Hoffman Estates, Cruises International isn't just about booking travel. They're your personal concierge, trusted travel advisor, and advocate. Your preferences are unique, and they'll take the time to understand exactly what you're looking for. From personalized service to their global network of specialists, they ensure that your vacation is tailor-made just for you. It's time to plan the vacation of a lifetime. Call 800-255-7447. That's 800-255-7447 today and speak to a cruise and vacation expert. Cruises International. It's time to set sail to your dream destination.
Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Integrity doesn't. For more than a century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't. Always choose the Better Business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
In the middle of the night, everything will be all right if you listen to Coast, right here on WRMN 7 days a week from midnight to 5 a.m. Each night on Coast to Coast, listeners are captivated by George Newry with discussions on news and current events, conspiracy theories, UFOs, life after death, and all things curious and unexplained. Whether you're working third shift or you're just a night owl, catch the most listened to overnight talk radio program in North America, Coast to Coast, every night, midnight to 5 a.m. right here on WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM. At Britain's Touchless Car Wash, they know life gets busy. That's why they're here 24/7 to keep your car looking spotless, fast, and easy. Their advanced brush-free wash technology delivers a sparkling clean without a single scratch, because they treat your car like it's their own. Here's the best part. Right now, you can get a free car wash just for joining their text club. It's simple. Just text BRITT to 30400, and your first wash is on them. Britain's Touchless Car Wash has two convenient locations, 1923 Larkin Avenue in Elgin and 555 Willow in West Dundee. They're proud to keep your car clean while giving back to our community. Text BRITT to 30400. That's BRITT to 30400. Now for your free car wash, and see why Britain's Touchless Car Wash is the fast, gentle, and reliable choice.
Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise here. Apologies on that last commercial break. We just went right into it, so we didn't get the rest of Brandon's thoughts, and we're going to continue talking Cubs here for the time being. As we were saying, the Cubs lost last night to this Astros team who are 16 games over 500, 49-33. But the thing that stands out, as Nick was saying, is they're 31-13 at home. So definitely dominant in their own ballpark. But the Cubs, you mentioned, Brandon, that they had two tough teams that they played back-to-back. And I think you were referring to the fact that this Astros series has kicked off, and then, of course, in their rivals in St. Louis. But even before that, the Cubs had a tough time with Seattle, who has been on fire, and more specifically, Cal Raleigh, who is hitting home runs at an incredible pace. In fact, he is looking to pass Barry Bonds for most home runs before an All-Star break. That was a 10-7 win for the Cubs on Saturday, and they held off Raleigh. But
no juice, all dumper.
In Sunday's game, they couldn't hold him off as he hits a 2-run shot to open the scoring. And Monday night, he hit another home run That was his 4th straight and 6th home run in the last 6 games.
Officially part of the Derby now too.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if there was if you're hitting at that pace, I don't know if there's any question that man's name has to get added into the conversation. But yeah, the Cubs are continuing on with the Astros tonight. That is at 6:15, and then tomorrow at 1:10, as Brandon was saying, they'll have to face Framber Valdez. And then the Cubs come back home for a little bit of an extended homestand, Tuesday, July 1st. I know, we're already into July. That's crazy. But they will be at home against Cleveland. That's a 7:05 start time. Wednesday is a 7 p.m. start time against Cleveland. And then Thursday goes back to being a 7:05 start time. Kind of weird. That'll be the 100th anniversary of Cubs radio broadcasts. So there's a Bluetooth speaker giveaway. Friday, July 4th, if you're looking for some fireworks, hopefully you'll find them at the Cubs game, but it'll be during the afternoon. It'll be one of their patented 1:20 starts on a Friday. Saturday, July 5th, against St. Louis is also 1:20, and Sunday, July 6th, will be the conclusion against this Cardinals team, a 5:10 p.m. game. Also a Hawaiian shirt giveaway for Cubs fans, presented by Jim Beam. So, Brandon, another series upcoming against this rival St. Louis team. Not a very easy schedule for the Northsiders. What are your thoughts going into these next couple weeks, and what do you expect from this Cubs team?
Yeah, I think our automated system is like my ex-wife. When I start talking, she just stops listening. I don't know what's going on.
Cuts you off, yeah.
Yeah, just cuts me off, starts talking on its own. No, it's it's going to be different. Look, you've got a team right now that is still, they know that they're struggling with pitching. Bruce Levine came out earlier this week and said that he expected within a week that the Cubs would be making a move for some pitching. I think maybe this series here against Houston, because I did look up the pitching matchups. It's Ray versus Gusto and Taillon versus Valdez. Ray and Taillon also have struggled with the long ball. In this ballpark in Houston, you're going to struggle with the long ball if you don't know how to not give them up. So we're going to see how these next 2 days go, but I think that might spark something in the Cubs, and I'm not sure where they're going to go. I have my suspicions. I think Miami is a spot where they're going to end up making a move, whether it is for Edward Cabrera or whether it is for Sandy Alcantara. They're going to make a move for somebody here relatively soon. And you're going to have, every team's going to go through these stretches. I mean, it's not like the Dodgers who have $1 billion payroll are running away with what they're doing on their schedule. I believe the Cubs are 2 games back, maybe 2.5 games back now of the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. So it's one of those where every team hits these stretches, and you've got to figure it out. They've definitely got to figure it out offensively, because they're not hitting the same way that they were at the beginning of the season. There's been a lot of more lull in the lineup, and you've just got to figure it out. And Craig Counsell's got to do that job. Craig Counsell's got to figure out a lineup that actually works, stay consistent with it, stop taking out Michael Busch every time that there's a lefty and putting Justin Turner in the lineup. You've got to figure that out, and you've got to be better at handling your rotation, right? Because you look at the last start for Ben Brown before he got sent down. I mean, the kid just got left out to dry, and it didn't really make a ton of sense, because you had an off day the next day, and maybe going into the series against St. Louis, you didn't want to waste bullpen arms. Okay, sure, I can see that, but then you have Colin Ray start the first game against St. Louis, and he's getting shelled too, and you just left him out there and left him out to dry. And I didn't really, I didn't understand that with a rested bullpen and what you were doing. So he's got to do a little bit of a better job there at controlling that aspect as well for his rotation. Got to put people in a position to succeed, and that's been a big problem for Craig Counsell. Even last year was a problem for Craig Counsell. It's something that we talked about last year as well. So you get a couple of those things under control. I'm not worried about this team. I'm not worried about the division right now. I still think that this is the team. Look, they've been having troubles, and they were still heading into yesterday 4.5 up on St. Louis, and I believe 2.5 or 3 up on Milwaukee. So I'm not worried about this team within the division. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, within the division, as you were saying, the Cubs are 48-34, playing .585 baseball. They're 2 games up on the Brewers, who now sit in that second place spot, 46-36. The Cardinals, 45-38. They're 3.5 games back. The Cubs are 4-6 in their last 10, and of course, they are on a 1-game losing streak after dropping last night's game. The teams that are hot in the league right now, you mentioned those Dodgers that the Cubs are closing in on for best record in the National League. Cubs are 3.5 games back, tied with the Phillies. But the Dodgers are 8-2 in their last 10, and they're on a 5-game win streak. You know who else is on a 5-game win streak? Those same Houston Astros that the Cubs will have to play tonight and tomorrow. They are also 8-2 in their last 10. They're only a game and a half back of the Detroit Tigers for best record in the AL division. So it's going to be a tough sledding for the Cubs coming up here, but we'll see if the homestand helps them. They are 500. Above 500 in both their home and away records. So that's a good sign that the Cubs can stay afloat on these long road trips, but also come home and dominate at Wrigley Field where they are meant to. When it comes to home stands, the White Sox are in the middle of one right now, and it has been an interesting homestand to say the least. We left off last week talking about the White Sox and how they were getting some better pitching and the bullpen arms were doing a little bit better so that they were staying in games later. But you had a really nice series win in Toronto.
Yeah, we got to stop calling these games. At least I probably should. I talked about Tim Elko, then was sent down maybe like 3 or 4 hours after that episode.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Sean Burke, and then he got shelled the same day after we got done. So I think we should probably hold back on calling these guys out by name. Be a little general for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That's just me.
The young talent, I don't even know if I want to go that far. The young talent is doing great. Next thing you know, they ship them all back down to AAA. So the White Sox had a little bit of deja vu, but in reverse, as they lost 7-1 to Toronto Saturday after destroying Toronto the night before, 7-1. But then Sunday in the rubber match, the White Sox were up 1-0 in the 4th and gave it up in the 5th. One run from Toronto in the 7th put them up above the White Sox, but the White Sox post 3 runs in the 8th. So once again, this team coming from behind in late innings to go ahead and get the win and fight in games. They get the much-needed road series win, as Dalton had been saying in previous weeks. It's been a struggle for this White Sox team on the road, and they finally kind of figured it out. Maybe the youth is starting to adapt to the MLB, and as I say that, that's the call to send them back down, right? But then the White Sox would come back to face the Arizona Diamondbacks in a 3-game series. Monday night, White Sox fans don't even want to relive this. A 10-0 loss to the Diamondbacks. Nothing really to write home about for White Sox fans in this game. Not a whole lot of highlights, a lot of lowlights. But then Tuesday was the talk of the baseball world as a fan was ejected for taunting Ketel Marte about his late mother, who passed away in a car crash in 2017. Ketel Marte was seen visibly breaking down on the field after what was said from the crowd. And I could tell you, we had a firsthand report from our very own Tilo, Tony Lopez, who was at that Tuesday night game, and he said there was just mass confusion in the stands as to what had gone on or what had occurred because, it's not being broadcast on the board and it's not an actual play within the game. All of a sudden, you just see this player like uncontrollably sobbing right there, and his coaching staff and teammates coming out to console him. So I don't know
did you see the report that came out last night where Marte said what the fan said?
I did, yeah, and he translated for what it was said.
Just simply, I texted your mother last night. That's what it said.
Did you have less of a problem with it after seeing that?
Yes,
I had less of a problem with it. Like I would look at you. You cannot get personal with a player. Like you know what I mean? Like if you want to shout things and say things and whatever. Like I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've shouted at a player, but it's usually either something funny or something in jest or something about the game, right?
Yeah.
Never once shouted anything about a player's mother or a player's wife or a player's daughter or sister or anything of that nature, because these guys are still human beings, and I understand that.
There are lines, but I think I'll go first off and say I obviously don't think that the fan knew that even Ketel Marte's mother was passed. So it's very unfortunate. Again, but there's exactly that. When you buy a ticket, you don't get the right to say everything. However, in context, like that wasn't that bad. Like I've heard way worse. Again, heckling is a very neckbeard activity to go out and go do. But it's still kind of part of the game. Like it's still like as a fan, you could still have the right to chirp a little bit. But exactly that. Like we're kind of like the 12th man out there type deal. Like we're getting out there. So I don't want to completely be on this kid's side of. Like he did not. No, he did something wrong. Obviously, he offended Ketel Marte. But that's ban him there, ban him at all ballparks. It's kind of where it should stop. Where everyone is kind of put the mirror in front of you. Where it's like all I see is reports is like I need to see this guy's face. I need to see his name. I need to know where he works. I need to know his social security number. Relax. Relax. So
the way
again,
that Marte reacted, I thought that it was just like I thought maybe the guy knew his mom had passed, and he said something about that, like something to the effect like your mom deserved it, or she did it, but like to say, hey, I messaged your mom last night. I was like, oh wow. Now I'm to the like. I think about it. I'm like, I mean, Ketel, I understand you being upset because your mom's passed, and condolences to you and your family for that, but like. I don't feel like that's warranted for being banned for life from any Major League Stadium because you said I messaged your mom.
I think his reaction makes a lot more sense now too, because when you watch the viral video, he literally is telling the guy like I just said something about like I think he's like I just said his mom or something like that. Which again, there is a line that you shouldn't be crossing family members, but like I think to your point, Nick, he definitely seems like he was ignorant of the fact of what had actually happened. With his
him
mom.
Out of that game, but not for life. I mean, you kick him out of that game so it doesn't escalate. Like that's the right move. But with what was said, it's not. You can't ban this kid for life. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Listen, I think we of course we all thought it was much worse, and it is as you guys both alluded to. It's just straight unfortunate. In this situation that it happened to a guy whose mom did pass away.
And I'll add the later he passed away. It was an accident in Chicago. It happened in the accident happened in his home country, but it was when he was playing here in Chicago against the Cubs in 2017.
Against the Cubs. Yeah. So I mean, maybe it brought back some memories being here in Chicago that you don't like and stuff. But like we said, very unfortunate that it just so happened to be the guy. I was gonna play devil's advocate, but I think after that kind of the news came out of what was said. We've kind of played that same devil's advocate because of the fact that we're like, all right, well, can we give this kid the benefit of the doubt? Maybe he didn't say anything that he thought was directed straight at Marte in a way that would hurt him. Maybe it was just one of those, yo mama jokes exist, right? Like that was one of those kind of things. But still, I mean, yes, like Dalton's saying too, is there are lines that shouldn't be crossed. And to me, what is still a little fishy is of all the players that you yelled it to, of course, maybe we don't know what he was saying to some of these other players because they didn't break down and there wasn't a stoppage game for them. But of all the players to have said it to, you got to wonder if there was maybe a little research done before he went and opened his mouth and research, but lack of brain cells too, if that's the case. Like if you went that length to research that and still open your mouth, lack of brain cells all across the board.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's I just think it was one of those where you get into like you've never been in a situation where you're joking around with somebody at work or just somebody that maybe you just met and they say something out of pocket and you're just like, yeah, your mom, and then you find out that their mom is either sick or has passed or whatever the case is, and you're like, oh man, you feel like crap, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. Like that might have just been that kid's moment. It just happened to be on a much bigger stage than any of us have ever had. Like for him to pay the price that he's about to pay for something like that, I don't know. I think that, especially in today's world, I think we've gone a little bit too soft. Like, I definitely agree with kicking him out of that game. Like, because like I said, you don't want the situation to escalate. You don't want him to still not know, but have Marte crying, and then for it to go further because he just wants to keep heckling. It was the right move to get him out of that game, but for the context and what was said, and Marte has told people what was said, I just, at that point, I'm like, oh man, I understand why you're upset. I get that, but I mean, come on, man. Like, at some point we have to be realistic with things. And I know sometimes people don't want to, they don't want to touch on a hot topic, or they don't want to put their real opinion out there because, it's a hot topic and they don't want to offend anybody out there. This isn't that. Sometimes you have to put on a common sense hat, and common sense tells you that, look, we understand why Ketel Marte was upset. I get it. I feel for Ketel Marte and in his loss, especially when it's a sudden tragic loss like that in a car accident where it's not something that was expected. I understand why you're upset, and I understand why you kicked the kid out of the game. But to go to the next step and be like, oh, you're banned for life is kind of crazy, which also puts into perspective, how the hell do you ban a person from every stadium for life when you can buy?
You don't really, but if they ever catch him, like they're gonna throw the book at him. That's basically it.
Yeah. I've always kind of wondered that too.
Yeah, they'll get charged for trespassing or something like that. So it's just, heaven forbid he does go back and cause another scene. He's like, hey, where's your ID? And then the cops get him like, oh, you were also banned already? No, right now we're just full on everything. That's how I've been able to gather. But yeah, I've been kind of on that side too. It's just like, yes, feel bad for Ketel. Like it's a very upsetting thing to say or to bring up like that. It's a triggering thing, exactly right. But yeah, the right now the crime kind of doesn't match what was put together. If we look into it, investigate, which right now it doesn't seem like that kid is going to do any sort of interviews, and I probably wouldn't either, because there's no reason to drag yourself through the mud except the fact that I'm banned from all ballparks. That's it. I'd rather just call it a day after that. So I don't want to say this will become water under the bridge, but this will probably be just another thing, which is like, just more memes and more stuff will come up eventually. So it's super unfortunate.
Yeah, if I'm the fan, I'm not doing an interview. I'd ask to speak to Ketel himself, and just so I
wouldn't want to do that.
I would
just to apologize.
I would apologize, and I would be a man up. I'd be like, look, I honestly did not know about your mother. I am so sorry for what I said and how it offended you. And if I known, I wouldn't have gone that route with it. I would have said something else.
And that would be my only question to the kid. Like if you knew that this was all going to happen, would you even say anything? You'd probably be like, no, I probably ate my hot dog and shut up.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I was pretty stupid at 22.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I did a lot of stupid things at 22 years old. So
I wonder if this kid giving his apology to Ketel and maybe them hugging it out eventually is the kind of closure that the world needs,
Because in this day and age, an apology isn't going to be enough for anybody anymore. Again, when everyone's already wanting this kid's head on a silver platter for anything, an apology would be like, oh, he just did this to save face for himself. It's just like, is anything enough for you guys? Like, is anything enough? Like, if he's genuinely sorry, then that would be it. But again, I think it's good for him to just be done. Like, just don't say anything at this point.
All of those people are the same ones that are laughing on TikTok at the guy who goes around to Major League ballparks with the "you bum" stuff, right?
Yeah, now that's creative. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, and that's harmless fun. But yeah, I could see at the same time that kind of behavior, when taken the wrong way, can incite and elicit this kind of behavior for people who maybe don't realize that you're not supposed to take it past that line, or you're supposed to leave it in that friendly, fun zone. And I'm not saying that this was the case here by any means, but there's hypocrites out there.
I just don't want to become the slipperiest of slopes event. Eventually, can't do this at ballparks now. Can't say this, and then eventually just be like, you can't even cheer anymore. It's gonna be like the WNBA games. Can't cheer, can't boo. It'd be like everyone's in the press box. No emotions, no nothing. Just write down your notes and enjoy the game. Sorry. That's the slipperiest of slopes, but we'll see.
Just don't say anything about players' family members.
Yeah,
that's fair. To go about it. I mean, just be smart. Don't say anything about his family members.
My favorite go-to is you pull up their high school stats. That's the go-to.
That's my go-to.
Like, 5.4 ERA your junior year? Yikes.
And how many times have we had a player, like, I mean, you have players that come up and then all of a sudden we see a tweet from when they were 12 comes up and now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, I want this kid. Like, just, I mean, when people say dumb stuff sometimes. Oh, dude, I forget who the player was. It was like 2 years ago. There was a player. It was actually from when he was 14.
Oh, I mean, they got Josh Allen when he was drafted in the league. That was the whole.
There were a lot of tweets.
Time. Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely there. Yeah.
Well, the Arizona Diamondbacks did get the last laugh in that game. It was a 4-1 victory for them, so they took the series right then and there. We did hear from their manager, Torey Lovullo, on being Lavello, excuse me, on being a parental figure to Ketel Marte. But one thing that we didn't hear was from the White Sox. I mean, they did come out with a statement, and then in that Wednesday game that I was in attendance for, they did post a message up on their big boards in the outfield saying that, baseball is family, and they stood with Ketel Marte and stuff. But it wasn't until afterwards, after the game, that I got a chance to ask Will Venable on his thoughts of the whole situation and the response from both the MLB community and the fans who had cheered for Ketel Marte every single time he got up to the plate on that Wednesday afternoon at Wright Field. On the MLB response and the fan response to the Ketel Marte incident today?
I didn't hear what MLB's response was. We certainly did everything we could to make sure that our sentiment was felt, and apologies were sent over to the organization and to Ketel, and it was an unfortunate incident, and I'm glad that we were able to move forward here.
Of course, Will Venable, very, very, very sad about the situation as well. But of course, the White Sox did get the win on Wednesday, so we were talking a little bit about that. That was a very interesting game. It was Lenin Sosa's first ever multi-home run game, multiple RBIs. The White Sox get the win 7-3, but Luis Robert Jr. had left the game in the first with left hamstring tightness. So all around, just a very interesting conclusion with the Diamondbacks. And then the White Sox had Thursday off before their battle with San Francisco last night. I did get a chance to ask Venable again about there was their first loss on a Friday night in the new jerseys against a Giants team who has struggled ever since interleague play has been more the norm against this White Sox team. A 3-1 victory for this White Sox, or a 3-1 victory for the San Francisco Giants ahead of that Flo Rida postgame concert. So the White Sox will be back in action today against San Francisco at 3:10. I'll be there at the game. And then tomorrow, Brandon and myself will be there. It's a 1:10 game. There will be a Louis Aparicio bobblehead giveaway for the first 7,500 fans. It'll also be a Coca-Cola Family Sunday. And most importantly, what I'm looking forward to, organist Nancy Faust will be scheduled to perform. She will be welcomed back into that organ booth that she commanded for so many years on the South Side, so that'll be fun. Next week, the White Sox will be in Los Angeles to take on the Dodgers Tuesday through Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday, it'll be in Colorado to take on the Rockies. All of those are late games. 9-10 against the Dodgers in all three games, 7-10, 8-10, and 8-10 respectively against those Rockies. All of those games are on CHSN, which is now available on Comcast, but you can listen right here on AM 14 WRMN, the home of your 2025 Chicago White Sox.
For nearly 50 years, the DuPage Senior Citizens Council and Kane Senior Council have been dedicated to serving seniors in DuPage and Kane counties. Established in 1975, the DuPage Senior Citizens Council is a volunteer-driven 501c3 non-for-profit organization committed to helping older adults live with dignity. From providing nutritious meals to offering support services, the Kane Senior Council is there every step of the way. With programs designed to enhance independence and quality of life, they're proud to make a difference in the lives of their senior neighbors. To learn more or to volunteer, visit them at 418B Airport Road in Elgin or head to their website at caneseniorcouncil.org. Give them a call at 630-338-0999. That's 630-338-0999. That's the Kane Senior Council, caring for seniors because they deserve to live with dignity and respect. Visit caneseniorcouncil.org or call 630-338-0999 today.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 9 o'clock.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The Senate out with its latest version of the big, beautiful tax bill, about $4.2 trillion worth of a combination of tax cuts and also new spending. And the Senate is expected to grind through a rare weekend session. Meanwhile, the majority leader in the Senate, John Thune, says they'll do what they can to get it across the finish line by the 4th of July deadline.
And the question is, you know, again, if assuming we succeed, and again, nothing's a given in this business, and everything is hard, especially toward the end. There's a ton of swirl, and you know, like I said, the new stuff coming at us every day. But if we can get it across the floor in the Senate and back over to the House, I guess my hope would be that they could figure out a way to execute on passing it there and get it on the president's desk.
And that is Majority Leader Thune, who spoke this week with the Salem Radio Network about the struggles getting that bill across the finish line. Yael Eckstein with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews says even as Iran threatened death to Israel in recent years, Israelis were working and praying to keep the peace and protect human life.
Israel was investing billions of dollars of protecting the citizens. And so the IDF has been remarkable. I believe that we're seeing open miracles in this war that we'll be talking about for generations to come.
Eckstein spoke this week with the Salem Radio Network. Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent is a foreign policy expert, one of the best in the country. And he says Iran's plans for regional domination have now been demolished, not only by Israeli and U.S. bombing, but also through the weakening of their once powerful proxy groups.
Hamas has been destroyed. Obviously, Assad is gone. Trump is already working on Syria to turn it into a conservative Sunni state rather than a radical Sunni state.
That is former U.S. Senator Jim Talent. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Mike Gallagher here, host of The Mike Gallagher Show. If you know me, you know I only put my name behind people and companies I trust. When it comes to mortgages, I trust Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. They're not just friends. They've done loans for me, my family. I've seen firsthand how they treat every client like their family. And these days, that personal touch really matters. With the cost of everything up, you might be looking for ways to free up cash. Maybe you're thinking about a cash-out refi or HELOC to finish some home projects, consolidate debt, or just get ahead financially. Fellowship is a full-service direct lender, not a broker. They cut out the middleman. That means faster decisions, fewer fees, and less stress. Whether you're buying your first home, downsizing, or refinancing to get some breathing room, they'll tailor fit the loan to your life. Get started at fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Bernie Bennett reports the Supreme Court has ruled that Texas's age verification law for porn websites is constitutional.
An issue in the Texas case is whether online pornographers should be required to verify that a visitor to their website is 18 before letting him in. Texas argues that the law is necessary because smartphones have made access to online porn, including hardcore obscene material, almost instantaneous. Studies have shown that children in the U.S. are now seeing pornography as young as 10 years old. More than a dozen states have enacted verification laws like the one in Texas. The pornographers argue that their First Amendment rights are being violated. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Police have detained 6 Americans in South Korea. They allegedly tried to use the tides to send some 1,600 bottles toward North Korean shores. They were detained on allegations of violating safety laws. Those bottles were filled with things like rice, U.S. dollar bills, and Bibles. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Guidelines may be relaxed for sports betting in the college ranks.
The NCAA is considering a proposal to allow athletes and staff to bet on professional sports while maintaining strict bans on college sports betting. The Division I Council introduced the idea, which requires approval from Divisions 2 and 3. The NCAA says this shift reflects the rise of legalized gambling and aims to focus enforcement on college sports integrity.
That is Gethin Coolbaugh reporting. Fireworks are as American as apple pie, and since a lot of those aerial shells and paper rockets are imported from China, the American Pyrotechnics Association is among those urging officials to exempt fireworks from any higher tariffs. Big city organizers and backyard revelers are set for this year's festivities, but organizers fear the terror battles could put a damper on future fireworks displays. You'll find more on these stories at townhall.com.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who help people that have been injured or wronged. If you've been involved in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or injured at work, you have rights, and you may be entitled to money for your suffering. Don't accept an offer you get from an insurance company until you talk to a lawyer. And we represent some of the best personal injury lawyers you can find. Tough lawyers that will fight to win your case. And they're so good they stake their reputation on it by only getting paid if you win. So if you've been in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or hurt on the job, find out today for free what kind of compensation you may be entitled to. Call the legal helpline right now.
800-257-3148. 800-257-3148. 800-257-3148. That's 800-257-3148.
Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise here on Saturday morning as a part of our River Media Network sports division here at WRMN. We have, of course, another hour here on the Rise for you, and then followed by the truth about Chicago sports from 10 to noon. And that is with Marcus Mack, Blake Cowell, and Sophia Blackburn. So stick around for that one as we fill your Saturday mornings full of sports. You can find us on the Rise on Instagram or TikTok. You can also find Brandon at Real Combsy on X, myself on X at Mike Napolitano. Dalton Cooper is just Dalton Cooper. And then, sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that.
Mike.
I didn't mean to say it like that.
And you can find us on Facebook, too.
Oh, and Facebook, yes, as well. And then Nick Johnson, and Johnson 6351. And then I believe all the Instagrams are pretty much the same there. So, but yeah, definitely follow the show account on the Rise 1410. And we are posting content daily, multiple times a day, basically at this point, because we have been everywhere. The one thing we were not at last night because it has been decentralized is the NHL draft. I get that a lot of these leagues are leaning towards a decentralized draft, but I'll tell you from being down in Nashville 2 years ago when the Blackhawks selected Connor Bedard, it was a fun atmosphere. It was electric. It was so awesome to be there around so many other Blackhawks fans and then be in the arena with all the teams at the tables, and you could watch to see who's going to what table to make what deal, and are they actually going to make a deal, or are they just saying, hey, haven't seen you in a while, good to catch up, let's grab dinner sometime. Like, it was so cool to be there. Basically, it feels like behind the scenes because you're in the arena, but you're not there for a game, and you're seeing all these transactions go down, and you're seeing everybody go up on the stage, and it's just such a ceremony. But regardless, you were still able to cover the draft with the Between the Benches podcast. If anybody missed their live stream, it was phenomenal. Great coverage all around from pretty much every single team.
Yeah.
And you guys recapped the entire first round of the draft, in which the Blackhawks selected third overall. We heard from Jack Heinrich last week, and also the gentleman from Chicago Hockey Radio, that was Justin and Tassos. All kind of leaning towards the Blackhawks keeping that third overall pick and drafting a big forward. That is exactly what they did. I had the breaking news as of Tuesday from my guy Paul that the Blackhawks were going to be taking Anton Frundell, third overall, a Swede out of the SHL, Swedish Hockey League, who is probably going to play one more year out in Sweden, but eventually then come to the Blackhawks and be that big center presence that this Blackhawks roster, the organization, and the rebuild desperately need.
Yeah, and I think it's going to give Connor Bedard maybe the opportunity to move over to the wing, which I think would be huge for this team. I mean, he's 6'1", Frondell is 6'1", 205, so even if he's got another year to grow in, maybe add 10 pounds, even just to be, I mean, if he got up to like 215, I feel like that would be an ideal situation. But yeah, the writing was on the wall. Good player. I mean, you can't really go, that you could maybe have gone different routes, but I definitely think this is a good pick in that situation and just another piece that they can add to the puzzle.
I mean, we were kind of talking about how the Blackhawks we're fine on defense. Maybe you get a goalie in late rounds. Goalies don't typically get super high up, but I was saying that I'm not super high on what the Blackhawks have in net right now. I mean, of course, Spencer Knight is great. He's been a backup behind phenomenal goaltenders like Bobrovsky, and then you have Drew Commesso coming up, who, I don't know, has taken a little longer to develop, but we've liked what we've seen in him in the AHL level, has posted a number of key shutouts and big playoff wins, but hasn't taken that jump yet consistently to the NHL. So, I mean, of course, even after he does get pulled up, you want to have something sitting in your AHL system. So I think maybe you get something here in this draft. I mean, of course, that's still going to be a project piece for a while. You do still have Adam Guyon, who will be probably playing for the Ice Hogs sometime soon here. But yeah, I think that the Blackhawks did exactly what they needed to in drafting forwards, and they did so with the 25th overall pick and jumping back into the first round, making a trade to get into the 29th overall pick. So that was huge.
Yeah, they get Nestrasil at 25. He's a good player. He's 6'6". He's $185. He plays for USHL for Muskegon. So he had 19 goals, 23 assists, 42 points in 61 games. But just his physical presence, and then I don't know if I'm on the same bandwagon as you. I don't know if I would have traded up to get Mason West. I can see the upside. Listen, I can see the upside. 6'6", 218, incredibly athletic. Brandon, if you're not aware, this is the dude that plays football. He's committed to play at Michigan State next year. So he's literally going to go from high school football straight to Michigan State, or he's going to go straight from high school football playing USHL and then going back to Michigan State, if you will. So the talk of commitment was just a big deal with him. And hey, if you do really well in football and you get maybe offered an NIL deal with like a Texas or an Ohio State, like where the priority is going to be. So that would be my only concern is, if it's about the money and it's about being, if he's really got a passion for football, maybe he goes that direction, which unfortunately you traded a first round, you traded a couple picks up to get a guy that unfortunately is never going to be there. But again, I see the upside. 6'6", 218 at his age. I mean, he's definitely built into his body, and we know that this team needs a bigger size and forward. So we'll see. But I do like the Nestrasil pick. I think he could be a key piece in the coming years and somebody this team could really lead on and get the forecheck going.
Yeah, and Nestrasil is a sneaky pick. When it comes to a guy like Mason West, you already kind of have that in AJ Spellacy, who was slated to be a football star and went the hockey route instead. And that was, once again, a project piece for the Blackhawks that almost cracked the AHL or NHL roster last year at training camp at the start of the season. So what I expect from Mason West, he's going to a great program in Michigan State. And by great program, I mean great hockey program. So even if he chooses to play football, continues along with that route, I think the hockey is always still going to be there for him. If he's already played at the USHL level, I have no worries. We talked about any of our listeners that know we cover the Steel here on the Rise. And I mean, we saw what Muskegon did to the Steel this past season. I mean, they have been a juggernaut. So if you can bring some of that to the Chicago Blackhawks eventually, I think that's great. I think Nestrasil, like I said, is a very sneaky pick. I think that's going to pan out better than what the Blackhawks and maybe some other analysts are expecting. What I will say, though, is at the same time, I get you gave up some assets to make a jump like that. I think the Blackhawks can afford it, because for the last couple of years, and Blackhawks fans will probably agree, it's been just, let's get high on this draft pick. Let's be super enticed by this draft pick. And, this young kid who's going to take a couple years to come up. And listen, after a certain point, it's like, okay, a draft spot, a pick is a lottery ticket. You don't know what you're getting. So are you going to just continue to sit here and play the lottery? Or are you going to finally piece things together and flip some of your assets and start to bring in the talent, whether that is through the draft or whether that is moving up to get a guy who maybe is a little bit higher touted, so that if he doesn't pan out, but another team doesn't realize that, you can flip that for something that's already currently in the NHL, or just move around these picks to get a veteran. I think I was explaining this last night through our WRMN group chat that we've seen Kyle Davidson be very successful draft-wise. We've seen Kyle Davidson very successful at the trade deadline with managing not only assets that he has, but also acquiring and attaining assets, and then being able to not only acquire and attain those assets at the trade deadline, but also in free agency at the start of the season to flip them for a little bit more, like, the rental pieces and get a little bit more value. The one thing that we are missing from this Kyle Davidson regime is a big free agent signing. And that is why, yes, the draft is important, and yes, selecting Frondell, I'm going to get back to that in just a second, but it's all important. But what I think is more important during this offseason for Kyle Davidson is, can you land that major free agent? It doesn't have to be the next Marian Hossa this offseason, but you want an NHL veteran that isn't, don't get me wrong, I love the Nick Folignos and the Tyler Bertuzzi addings and stuff like that, but those are not only depth pieces, those are leader pieces that are towards the end of their career, maybe on the back nine even, that are there to teach Connor Bedard and some of these younger players like Frank Nazar more so off the ice than on the ice. Because let's just be honest, a guy like Nick Foligno is not keeping up with the Connor Bedards or the Frank Nazars in terms of speed. So you need somebody who is still in their prime in the NHL, who is going to show you the reins on and show you the ropes on the ice. And especially when you're selecting a guy like Frondell. A lot of the reason why the Blackhawks selected Frondell is he's less of a project piece because of his size. He can probably step into the AHL right away if he doesn't elect to go back to well, I mean, like I said, he is at least going to do 1 year in Sweden. I believe he's committed. But, I mean, he could step into the AHL as soon as he comes here to the States, or maybe even make that jump to the NHL. And he had better skating ability than Porter Martone, or I think even James Hagens was still being talked about in the conversation. And we know how much this Blackhawks team favors high skating level. So I think this first round has gone the way the Blackhawks really wanted it to, and I have no real issues for it. If you gave up a couple of assets to make a jump to get Mason West, so be it. You're playing with the house's money at this point.
No, we'll definitely see. That's
kind of the consensus I'm seeing on a lot of reports where they're like, it's a risk, sure, but the Blackhawks can kind of do that risk right now. Kind of see how it plays out. Where again, the concern is still there. He's going to play high. He's going to play football instead of playing out his senior year. So that's tough. But again, he apparently, from what other reports were saying, he's like, he is committed to hockey from coming out of his own mouth. So
nice.
See how it goes.
Well, then Lakovic was still there too. That was like the one pick that I was hoping they'd make, and they ended up going to Washington at 27, I believe. So just another forward with size that's really good too. But go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I liked the pick of Frondell. I'm a little concerned when you take two players that aren't going to be playing for you readily available, especially when you're picking third in the draft. But I do like the Frondell pick. I think that's going to open up some things for Connor Bedard as well. I don't know if they move Connor Bedard to the wing or if they move Frondell to the wing, because he does have the ability to play on the wing as well. He's shown that quite a bit. A very versatile player. I loved that pick for them. I think, he's definitely a guy with soft hands. He can pass the puck really well. He's got a hell of a freaking wrist shot, a lot like Connor Bedard does. So I do like that pick. I'm a little bit higher on their goaltending situation than our guy Mike is.
I know, right?
I think Soderblom, I think, look, he's only 26. I think he's a very solid backup I was going to say Connor Knight.
Spencer Knight.
Yeah, it's a Spencer Knight. And Drew Comesso coming up too. He's a lot of people talk about this kid and where he's going to be. I think I have a little bit more reservation about Comesso than I do the other two, but I think their goaltending situation isn't that bad. I think it's their where I disagree with you is I think it's their defensive situation that's been bad. I think that their goaltenders get hung out to dry a lot because a lot of pucks that shouldn't get through. They don't clear the crease really well. They don't have a lot of physical players on defense. I think that's been their problem over the last 3 or 4 years. I do think they're getting better there. I do think Lev Shanov's going to be a beast. I do think that they've got a lot of guys that are are coming up in that will get there. But I still think this is a team that's probably 2 years away from being a playoff team.
Yeah, just to let you know, too, Bedard is slated to start on right wing. Their first line prediction right now, according to Daily Faceoff, is Frank Nazar is going to be our first line center, Bertuzzi is going to be on left wing, and Connor Bedard is going to be on the right wing. So.
Okay.
I don't know if I love moving Bedard to the wing. I think it's a mistake if you do move Frundell to the wing just because of his size. I think he should be a center for you, but if you have to, you have to. I can understand that. I think it is a mistake to move Bedard to the wing only because he's worked so hard at faceoffs right now, and I know it's not coming right now, but the numbers were similar to Crosby in practically all aspects, in the faceoff percentage, in the points. So, I mean, if he's on a trajectory to be like a Sidney Crosby, I don't think a center position would be too much for him. I think you just need to give him the time to get there. And that's what the Blackhawks have right now. As you said, they're not going to be a playoff team this next year. They might not even be a playoff team the next season. So I think you have the time to give Connor Bedard that consistency and build up that confidence at the dot. As far as the defense goes, I agree with you that there are some holes, but I think a lot of it is just that inexperience. So I don't think you draft defense. I don't think you go and pick up a defenseman even in free agency unless it's like a rental. I think it's you just have to let what is there develop and get older and get more versatile in this NHL landscape because you have there are so few defensive spots on this team right now that you have Kevin Korchinski sitting in Rockford, and you're also kind of talking about maybe trading him for assets because you have so many defensive prospects. And it's not that Kevin Korchinski's bad that he's in the AHL, and it's not Kevin Korchinski's bad because they're looking to trade him. He's one of the most valuable assets right now that has that upside to him that other teams would like, that isn't also an immediate factor on your NHL roster. Now, if we were talking about trading Alex Vlasic, then stop the presses. You don't want to trade a Lev Shunov either. You just drafted him second overall last year. But a Korchinski, he has taken a little bit longer to develop, but he's kind of there at that same level. He was an AHL All-Star last year, and he stole the show, and I think a lot of other teams would look at that. I'm all for keeping Kevin Korchinski. I think he would be a valuable piece to any playoff team or a championship run, but if there just aren't the positions available because you have them taken up by even better defensemen, then that is the way that it has to be. With the goalie conversation, I'm only taking what I've heard from our friend of the show, Charlie Meliotis, the insider for the Blackhawks. I'm very high on what they have currently, but I guess I should say a little bit more so of when we go into playoff years for this Blackhawks team. Can Spencer Knight be the guy? I think so, yes. But do you have a solid backup in Camesso? Right now, I don't think you can say that because he hasn't been solid at the NHL level. Maybe by then he has gotten that development to be there. But once again, I think you really want to have a little bit more depth than just those two names at goaltender position. But once again,
Soderblom too, right? Soderblom's only 25.
And Brossois is still on the roster too. He's technically on IR.
Soderblom, yes.
Brossois 97 though.
Soderblom had a much better season this last year, but I think it's a lot of is that going to be the case every single season? Because we saw how bad he was in his first year. Can he continue to play at this level? Is it going to be consistent? So yeah, you have Soderblom. But Brossois, I don't even know. Can you get him in a crease on skates at some point anytime soon? And then even when you do, is that just to make him look like he's coming back into playing form to flip him for something at this point? Because you took a flyer out on him, and he has not played a single second of hockey for your organization.
You've got to take it in with the goaltender, and when you're evaluating a goaltender and what you're watching with Soderblom, how you said he struggled with consistency and all of that stuff, a lot of that has to do because they're still developing on the defensive side of things. A lot of these really good goaltenders in the leagues have really good defensemen in front of them. When you look at a lot of that was a problem for, why do you think the Florida Panthers, who won the Stanley Cup, Bob's been so great in net because he only has to face 25 shots a game.
Yeah.
because the defense in front of them does not allow the puck through. A lot of the really good goaltenders, a really good goaltender is sometimes only as good as the best defense in front of them.
Yeah, and the coaching, I think, has a lot to do with that. You show me a good coach, I'll show you a good goaltender. But I think the Panthers have also kind of shown everybody that, hey, if you build the team and then pay for the goalie, that seems to be the route to take because they've kind of built their core, and then they paid for Bob. You know, he was the first player in NHL history, or the first team even, to win a Stanley Cup with a player making $10 million or more on their roster. So that was when they won their first cup. So definitely a good investment there. And just to let you know, too, Kevin Korchinski is actually projected to be on the third pairing with Connor Murphy to start the season for the Blackhawks, according to Daily Faceoff. So we'll see what happens. I'm with you. I still think they should keep Korchinski. I think you got to give him a chance. We know defensemen take a little bit longer to develop as far as being NHL ready. Obviously, a little bit longer than forwards, not as long as goalies, but they're definitely in that in-between stage. So we'll definitely see. And if he plays really well, and I mean, it's a good problem to have at that point. You got a problem of riches.
Yes.
Can I quickly derail really quick? I was doing some research on Mason West.
Yeah.
He's gonna be playing quarterback, so he's gonna be handled with kid gloves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like he's gonna be Travis Hunter playing wide receiver on one end and then flipping to the other side and playing cornerback or going balls to the wall safety. Like he's gonna be fine.
They're probably running the triple option. I think some of the highlights they showed during the draft last night, he was literally running down the field.
I mean, he's a 6'6". He's gonna be bigger than everyone else on the field. I mean, he's a big boy.
Also behind Michigan State's offensive line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's gonna be helpful. It's gonna be nice. So again, if there's any wonder of like, oh, he's gonna get hurt going all out? No, he's playing quarterback. He's gonna be fine.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
All right, boys, I'm going to put you on the spot. Let's jump into our Mamma Mia segment.
Oh.
Brandon, do you have your first Mamma Mia of the week?
I don't.
Oh, I'll go first. I got this one.
All right.
Mamma Mia, the draft taking almost 5 hours last night. Holy Mamma Mia!
Just make the picks.
We decentralized. I was going to ask you, like, when you went to Nashville, was it 4.5 hours?
No. I believe the draft itself started at 6, and we were out of there by like 9:30 at the latest.
Like I pulled up the guide on television because I was like trying to eyeball how long it was. Literally slated from 6 to 9. It was supposed to be 3 hours, and then we get into an hour, like 3.5, and we're literally still have like 10 picks left. And I'm just like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, no way ESPN planned for that. No way. Like, everybody on the back end had to be so mad. And then Carolina takes like 3 hours to announce their pick. They're trading their pick. It's just, Mamma Mia. Like, no more of that. No more decentralized draft. I understand it's the biggest day of this kid's lives and they want to shake everybody's hands, but good God, can we do something?
How is it that the decentralized draft, where they don't have to walk up on stage and do the whole pomp and circumstance, takes longer, especially when you take into consideration, what are you doing when you draft players in any league? You've done your research. You have a whole list in order of who you're going to take. And, if that guy gets picked before we want to take him, all right, cross his name off, go to the next guy. And stuff like why does it take so long? And so my Mamma Mia has to do with drafting as well. But it's going to go to the other team that plays in the United Center. It's the Chicago Bulls. We've already went over this, but I'm just going to leave it at Mamma freaking Mia.
I'll go really quick. Maybe a little bit earlier in the week, people that were saying, it happened on 2 different occasions for me. People that were saying that the Kevin Durant trade took away for the eyeballs from the NBA Finals Game 7.
Yeah.
We were on live when it happened at our other job, but just people that were like, this is gonna be such a big distraction. No, I would counter it when everyone's zigging. I'm gonna zag on that one. That's gonna draw more eyeballs and more attention. So
somebody else got traded on Game 7 the year before, didn't they?
Something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I'd have to look back.
There's some big moves. There's some big trades. But anyone that was like, it's gonna take away from it. No, that had no affiliation with it. I don't know.
Brandon, you got a quick Mamma Mia?
I think you guys are crazy about the draft. I think that, I mean, we don't complain when the NFL draft takes 4.5 hours, but we're going to complain with
that's a spectacle. We love it.
They have 10 minutes to make their pick.
That's what Grant in the chat is saying.
Yeah, it's not that far off. I actually like the decentralized draft because I like the play. I think it's better than the NFL draft because you already know that these kids are getting phone calls in the NFL draft. The NHL draft, it's almost more natural. They don't know that they're being picked, but For my Mamma Mia, I'm gonna go to Wilson Contreras, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Nice.
You've got to know the room better than that. You've got to know that you are not a very feared hitter in this game right now. And so nobody is walking you or hitting you to put the tying run on base and the winning run up at the plate. Nobody is doing that to you. Yeah. Nobody wants to put you on base. They want you to swing the bat because 9 times out of 10 you're not getting on base. So for me, my Mamma Mia goes out to Wilson Contreras.
Former Cub right there. Well, we have more Chicago news as far as sports go. We have soccer, basketball, and even some more baseball right here on AM 1410. You're listening to On the Rise. Myself, Mike Napolitano, Brandon Combs, Dalton Cooper, and Nick Johnston. Stay tuned.
Hey, Tammy, I just made an AI fact checker for the show. Do you want to try it out?
Sure. Talk Time with Tammy and Friends is the best show on WRMN.
Oh, Talk Time with Tammy and Friends is the best show on WRMN, huh? What a bold, subjective opinion masquerading as a fact. Sure, I bet you and all 12 of her fans feel that way. While I can confirm the show exists, yay for reality, its best status is completely debatable. And yes, congratulations, it does air Monday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Let me know when Tammy wins an Emmy or something. Until then, this is a hard nope on objectivity. Grade 310. Fact, Talk Time with Tammy and Friends airs weekdays, Monday, Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on WRMN. Try again when you want to talk about facts, not fangirling.
I'll work on it.
You better.
This is Larry Jones, and I'd like to talk to you about my bank, American Eagle Bank in South Elgin. Has your bank changed names in the last 10 years? Is your bank another faceless branch with headquarters in another city? Are you tired of earning next to nothing on your savings account or certificates of deposit? Or does your personal banker treat you like a stranger? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then you're ready for a new banking experience, and American Eagle is the place for you. American Eagle is a locally owned independent bank that's rooted in the community, and American Eagle customers are greeted by name and treated with the respect that they deserve. American Eagle has an innovative program, Eagle Savings, that teaches your children to save while earning prizes and rewards. American Eagle offers great rates on certificates of deposit. My bank is located in South Elgin on Randall Road between the Target and Caputo's and is open Monday through Saturday. Give them a call at 847-742-7400 and a real person will answer the phone. American Eagle Bank, a place where you matter.
Children are the greatest joy and our best hope for a better future. Friends, they are the future. But did you know that millions of kids right here in our own backyard are facing hunger every day? Without healthy food, it's harder to grow, to thrive, to feel their best.
The impact when children don't have enough to eat is tremendous because when you're hungry and your basic needs aren't being met, you cannot learn.
Every child deserves to be fed. This is a problem we know how to solve. Food is not just food. It's energy, health, confidence, hope, and even love. Yes, love.
Breakfast in the classroom contributes to kids being more focused, which leads to higher grades, and simply just their well-being.
Learn more about how No Kid Hungry is helping end child hunger in America at helpnokidhungry.org.
In the middle of the night, everything will be all right if you listen to Coast right here on WRMN, 7 days a week from midnight to 5 a.m. Each night on Coast to Coast, listeners are captivated by George Noory with discussions on news and current events, conspiracy theories, UFOs, life after death, and all things curious and unexplained. Coast to Coast, every night, midnight to 5 a.m. right here on WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
Ready to tackle your junk piles? Call the Junk Luggers. From old furniture to entire cleanouts, we do the heavy lifting. And here's the best part. We rehome and recycle as much as possible to keep it all out of landfills. Feel good about your cleanout the green way. Call 1-800-LUG-JUNK or visit junkluggers.com today for your eco-friendly, stress-free service.
I'm Mike Napolitano of WRMN, and I am here with Susan and Jim Westfeld, the parents of Maddie and Catherine Westfeld, who just faced off for the first time here in Chicago after their previous meeting in Phoenix. Dad, how did you feel about the daughters tonight?
So excited. Yeah, very excited for them both.
It was a little bit of a lopsided game in Catherine's favor, but of course the Sky fans were loud here tonight. What was the atmosphere like for you guys here at Winchester Arena?
Just jumping and just so happy, and family and friends and everybody around us. We just had a really good time. Once in a lifetime opportunity, so just enjoying the moment.
That is awesome. What are you looking forward to out of each of your girls throughout the rest of this season?
Just more happiness. Just as long as they're happy, we're happy.
Awesome.
I'm hoping that both of them get to experience the WNBA and just kind of find a home.
That is great. We hope you guys have found a home here a little bit in Chicago, and we're happy to have you. And thanks again for coming out today for Westfeld. Right?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome back to On the Rise here on AM 1410 WRMN, and you just heard our interview with Maddie and Catherine Westfeld's parents as they were in attendance for the Saturday matchup between the Phoenix Mercury and the Chicago Sky here at Wintrust Arena. And these two teams had faced off before earlier in the season, but it was out in Phoenix. That was a loss for the Sky, 94-89. And this one, an even worse slaughtering, 107-86 final in favor of the Phoenix. And not the way that the Sky wanted to go in this game, but it was cool to get a chance to see the Westfelds play against each other.
Yeah, franchise record 17 3-pointers made for the Phoenix Mercury, Mike, and that is just not a good way to win basketball games. They shot 53% for the entire game, and it was just insane. So, aided by a 34-15 run in the third quarter, and the Mercury never looked back.
Yeah, no doubt. And then moving forward from that game, of course, the Sky had a tough schedule for the week. Sunday was their second game within a 24-hour span. 48 hours at that point, but still within that 24-hour mark, as it was an afternoon game with Phoenix and then an afternoon game with Atlanta. A 93-80 loss. We did see a better second half from this Sky team on the road, but still not a victory. So they moved to 3-10, which would bring them back home on Tuesday nights to face off against the Los Angeles Sparks, a team that was also struggling to get wins. They have a lot of injuries. Cameron Brink is out. She didn't even travel with the team. But then, of course, it was the Kelsey Plum show for a little bit of this game until the Sky finally locked things down and got the win. They had a really nice second half. Just to go back, the Mercury shot 53.3% from three in the third. The Sky were shooting 28.6% from three in that game against the Mercury. They were outscored 34-15 in the third quarter, but it was not the same case with this win for the Sky. They scored 25 in the third and 30 in the fourth, so really taking command of the second half and shooting well. In this one, you had Angel Reese with 17 rebounds, 6 assists, and Camila Cardoso had 27 points. 3 of those points, that was her first career three-pointer.
Yeah, we could tell your grandkids someday that you get to see Camila Cardoso's first ever three-point field goal make. It's going to be unfortunate having her out because she's got to go play for her national team in, I believe, Brazil. Yeah, so she's going to be out for, I think, a week or two. So that's going to be a big loss just because it feels like they were really starting to, especially her, she was really starting to really find her place with, between her and Reese have been playing well. And I think they call them the Twin Towers, if you will. I think that's like the online sensation. But the defense really stepped up in that game, too. They got outscored in the first quarter against the Spark, and then they went on an 80-57 run the rest of the game. And like you said, aided by a really good second half. The defense, Nick, the defense is what really stepped up, and it was nice to see a cohesive effort.
That's nice. That's nice to see.
No doubt. I mean, and we talked about Camila leaving the team. I think they were saying it was closer to a month, but what is nice is there's a lighter schedule here coming up for the Sky. In fact, they only have one game this next week until there's like a whole calendar week until their next game. So tomorrow will be in LA against that same Sparks team at 3 p.m. on ESPN. Hopefully they can continue in their winning ways. Last night, the Sky did drop back into the loss column with an 83-87 loss to the Golden State Valkyries, a new team to the WNBA.
Yeah, they're playing. I mean, the Valkyries are really good at home too. They're kind of like the Houston Astros. You know, they're just they're brand new, but they have been playing well at home. But yeah, it's tough to see. I didn't get to catch any of that game. I was too busy doing the NHL draft. So, but we're still here. We're hopefully get back to their winning ways. They could use a break though. Three games in 4 days is just, that's tough on any team. I don't care how good that team is.
It is. And when we talked to head coach Tyler Marsh after the game on Tuesday, we were kind of talking to him about how, you know, it had been a rough start to that clumped up scheduling of 3 games in 4 days, but they came out in the win column in the very tail end of it. So we got a little bit of insight from head coach Tyler Marsh on the win from Tuesday night. Coach, at the start of the season, we talked to you and a bunch of the players about adjusting to a new system. They also mentioned your championship pedigree. We've seen a lot of rough third quarters and second halves. We didn't see that tonight. Is tonight's victory kind of a sign that that system is being adapted to by this team?
I don't know if you can get that just from one game. I think you got to build up some consistency over the course of a few games to really feel that. But what I will say is that the effort that we gave in Atlanta, our last game, combined with the effort that we gave for most of the game tonight, I think that lets us know that we're trending in the right direction. You know, we've had a level of fight and will that has kind of carried us. You know, allowed us to be in games these last 2, and fortunately to come out on top today. But you know, the messaging is just that we can't have anything less than that effort-wise. If we give the right level of effort, if we take care of the ball, if we stay attentive to the game plan, then we'll find ourselves in some of these games. And so that's been the messaging thus far.
So that was head coach Tyler Marsh on the victory. Not really giving too much credit to his system that the players seem to have adjusted to in order to get this win, but it was overall a very cohesive team win for this Sky team.
Is it safe to say there's going to be some butter halves in the upcoming?
There are probably going to be some butter second halves, but better second halves going forward. Hopefully,
finally get some wins so we can have a round of applause.
Nice. I like that. Is that on the spot?
It's good. Yeah, that's definitely on the spot. Yeah. We've got some folks walking by here in Elgin. If you've noticed, we don't have Brandon Combs with us. He had to jump out a little bit early. He may be joining us a little later, but we do want to get into some soccer talk. We did attend the Chicago Fire FC game Wednesday night, but we didn't get a chance to talk Fire last week. That was a doubleheader loss to Nashville, so a 2-0 shutout loss at home. The Fire were looking to come back from that. Unfortunately, another shutout loss at home. A penalty in the 10th minute from Bruno Damiani was what gave the table-leading Philadelphia Union the win, and it was just 1-0 all game. Damiani left the game in the 87th minute. That wasn't because of injury or anything. It was just the Philadelphia Union started to kind of just sit back and relax a little bit. Their next match will be today. I will be in attendance for that one after the White Sox game against Charlotte FC. That'll be at 7:30 p.m. Charlotte kind of sitting right above the Chicago Fire in the table, so definitely a good opportunity for the Fire to get back into the win column and score some goals at home. Their next game will be next Saturday in Cincinnati to face Cincinnati FC at 6:30 p.m. On the ladies' side of things, they had a draw with Seattle at Soldier Field during that doubleheader. Unfortunately, they were winning 2-0 off of 2 goals from Ludmila, who was flipping around doing acrobatic backflips after she scored the goal. I mean, that was a spectacle to watch in and of itself. Unfortunately, 2 goals in the final 10 minutes, and the Stars only are able to get the draw. They lost 1-0 to the Portland Thorns last Saturday. That was Pietra Torden in the 59th minute scoring. There won't be a whole lot of Stars talk coming up in the next couple of weeks here because of the fact that they are going to take a 1-month hiatus. The NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, takes a break in July, primarily to accommodate international tournaments like UEFA Women's, the Euro, and Copa America Femenina, where many players will represent their national teams. The league will also pause for the CBA mandated break from June 23rd to 29th. That is the collective bargaining agreement. That's one thing we didn't talk about in hockey. The collective bargaining agreement is going to be sat down and talked about by the NHL and the NHL Players Association.
I thought it was approved.
And I believe it is. Yeah, I believe it is approved already that they are going to be shifting to an 84-game regular season rather than an 82-game regular season. I don't believe that's going to take into effect this year.
No.
I think it's the next year.
Yeah, I think it's 2026, 27.
Yeah, so, but that the CBA in the NWSL does some similar things with taking a break for a month.
The e-bug is back, baby.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The e-bug in the NHL, the emergency backup goaltender, is going to be a little bit more of a mainstay. So that is cool. We'll bring you more information about that when we jump into more hockey next week. We also have some Boomers and Cougars baseball coming up for you right here on AM 1410. You're listening to On the Rise. We had Brandon Combs on, but still joined by Nick Johnston on the board over here, myself, Mike Napolitano, and Dalton Cooper, who got those lovely lobster claws from the Sky Cave.
Yeah.
The weather is getting better, and we know it's the time when ladders and DIYers come out. Before you start any new outdoor projects, ComEd wants you to know that electricity can jump from a power line to you and the tools you're using. So maintain a safe distance from any power lines. You can also call ComEd at 1-800-EDISON-1 to have those power lines de-energized the next time you do any type of work around them. Stay smart, stay safe, stay back. ComEd, powering lives.
They're simple, boring, never thought of until they're needed. They're windshield wipers. Only when Mary Anderson became annoyed that New York trolley drivers were stopping to wipe their windshield by hand did anybody do something about it. By attaching a spring-loaded arm to a rubber blade, one woman made travel easier and safer. Look to innovate and pass it on from passiton.com.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. That's 800-760-1845.
Hey, Tammy, I just made an AI fact checker for the show. Do you want to try it out?
Sure. Talk Time with Tammy and Friends is the best show on WRMN.
Oh, Talk Time with Tammy and Friends is the best show on WRMN, huh? What a bold, subjective opinion masquerading as a fact. Sure, I bet you and all 12 of her fans feel that way. While I can confirm the show exists, yay for reality, its best status is completely debatable. And yes, congratulations, it does air Monday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Let me know when Tammy wins an Emmy or something. Until then, this is a hard nope on objectivity. Grade 310. Fact, Talk Time with Tammy and Friends airs weekdays, Monday, Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on WRMN. Try again when you want to talk about facts, not fangirling.
I'll work on it.
You better.
Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise here on Saturday morning. One final segment here before we kick it off to The Truth About Chicago Sports with Marcus Mack, Blake Cowell, and Sophia Blackburn. And our final segment, of course, as always, we keep it hometown here. We keep it local with the Schaumburg Boomers and the Kane County Cougars. Now, the Cougars, they didn't have as great of a start to their week. Friday through Saturday, they were on the road against the Lincoln Salt Dogs. They got swept and in ugly fashion. We talked about that 17-7 loss last Saturday, but then they followed that up with a 4-2 loss on Saturday as well. So that was the Friday game, 17-7, 4-2 on Saturday, and 6-5 on Sunday. And then they were continuing on the road as they faced Gary, the South Shore Railcats, Tuesday through Thursday. They did get 2 victories in both the Tuesday and Thursday games. When you look at the Cougars, we talked about them being kind of under 500 last week, so it's kind of good to see them going back and forth and sticking around 500, but you kind of expect this defending championship team to go on a little bit of a run. They've started a series as of last night against the Chicago Dogs. That'll be a 3-game series at home before they go on the road next week to play Chicago in a 4-game series at Impact Field over the 4th of July weekend. But Dalton, you will be in attendance for the Sunday?
No, Saturday
game. Tonight. So
yeah, it's Era's night, baby.
It is Era's night. What are you expecting from Northwestern Medicine Field and this Cougars team against the Chicago Dogs?
And what era are you in?
I was going to say, I expect all the Swifties to show up, baby. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. I've never been, honestly, so I'm excited to check out the place. I'm still kind of a Chicago transplant, so haven't had a chance to make it out to the Kane County Stadium yet or field. So excited to see that, excited to meet everybody, but hopefully they can get back to their winning ways. They're definitely going to need a little bit of run with Kane County here to, I guess, establish their playoff push, because it's getting to that time of the season for baseball to start making their moves, especially when it comes to the minor league system. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they get back to their winning ways, and
Yeah, so they stuck in those winning ways to sweep Gary after they got swept by the Lincoln Salt Dogs. So back and forth this whole week and even 500. Unfortunately, they dropped the first game against Chicago last night. 3-2 was that final score. So they'll continue here at 6:30 p.m. tonight at Northwestern Medicine Field, followed by a 1 o'clock game tomorrow. As you heard from Nick, it is, from Dalton, it's Era's night. Cougars version. There will be post-game fireworks and an Era's Night jersey giveaway. So get there early. Get your jersey. You know,
I'm gonna experience the Taylor Swift experience.
Got nothing in my brain.
Yeah, there's a pregame concert too. Sparks Fly, the Taylor Swift experience, and then tomorrow will be SpongeBob SquarePants Day, as well as the half-price Kid Zone wristbands and the Sunday free feast if you buy through the special ticket packages. So that'll be exciting. But get in on that now, because those are the final 2 home games for the Cougars this week before they go on the road Tuesday through Thursday at Mercy One Field to face the Sioux City Explorers. That'll be a 7:05 start time for all 3 games. And then, as I mentioned, the 4th of July weekend, starting on Friday, the 4th of July, they will be at Impact Field to take on the Chicago Dogs. Nick, you'll be in attendance.
Yep.
What do the Dogs have for that weekend for fans? It's a 4-game set with Kane County.
Oh, I'll take a quick look. Absolutely. But obviously it's the 4th of July weekend, so it's going to be fireworks galore. I'm sure all types of deals off the top of the dome. I can't remember if it's like a T-shirt giveaway or some sort of hat.
Do they have a manatee game?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
He means matinee game, but yeah. That's inside jokes here. We're gonna get you a T-shirt that says manatee game.
Yeah.
Regardless, you'll see some solid talent. Brantley Bell's been hitting the ball pretty well for the Dogs. Obviously, Jacob Teeters coming off his last year being the American Association Player of the Year. He's been still putting it together pretty well. Dogs bullpen's been kind of hit or miss, but it's all right with the starting pitching that's been coming out as of late. It's been pretty solid overall. So, and actually, had a move had someone from the Dogs go right to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'll pull that up in just a second. But congrats, loving these guys. This is the whole thing. Like you talk about these guys, you talk about this league for that reason. Like there's always an opportunity, so you love to see that. So at any given day, you can see MLB talent just pop up anywhere. So Congratulations. Let me pull it up really quick.
The Dogs are playing great baseball. They're 25-19. That's 568 ball. They're tied for first with the Lake Country Dockhounds, who are 24-18. So a little bit better winning percentage, but because of them not playing the same number of games, they're technically tied for first, both on a 1-game win streak. The Cougars sitting in fourth. They're behind the Cleburne Railroaders that separate them from the Dogs. They're 5.5 games back. They're 19-24. So just under 500, 5 games under 500. So Cougars starting to pick up the pace here. But another team that is...
Austin Morozes.
Austin Morozes, yes.
Marozas. That's the last name. Austin Morozes. Correct. Congratulations getting signed to the Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays needed him after they dropped that home series to the White Sox, is what I'm hearing. So that's good news going for both
Stock
Morozes.
up on them arms, baby.
Yes, and also the Dogs organization. If you can't make it out to Impact Field over in Rosemont for the Chicago Dogs and the Kane County Cougars, you can head over to Wintrust Field to see the Schaumburg Boomers. I was in attendance Thursday night as the Boomers were in Joliet to face the Slammers. It was Ghostbusters night, so they rebranded to call themselves the Slimers. You can check out the little media piece that I put out there on Instagram. We have that on our On the Rise account as well. It's a great stadium. It was actually built a year after Wintrust Field by the same company that constructed and designed Wintrust Field. So a lot of similarities between the ballparks. Just as modern and just as cool. But, of course, Joliet puts its own nice little spin on it with being the Steel City and also Prison City. So plenty to see in that ballpark, and the food was great. But Schaumburg dropped that first game at Windy City last Friday 12-7, but returned the favor on Saturday with a 12-6 win as the series shifted to Wintrust Field. And then Sunday was the conclusion of the split series. This was at home at Wintrust as well, and there was the rubber match. An 11-10 walk-off win for Schaumburg in the bottom of the ninth. The Boomers were down 10-9 going into that inning when Christian Fedko singled to left to score Kyle Fitzgerald and tie the game. And Windy City made a pitching change. Carson Plumidor subbed in for Trevin Reynolds, and then Andrew Sochka hits a walk-off double, bringing in Will Prater to score. Will Prater was then ejected from that Thursday night game that I was at for a controversial call on the runner interference on a double play ball. But unfortunately, the Boomers did not have a great series in Joliet. They fought back from being down 1-0 in the third by scoring a run in the sixth, but immediately gave that run back in the bottom of the frame in that first game. But the Bats came alive in the seventh with a 3 spot to take a 4-2 lead. Unfortunately, Schaumburg gave up 3 in the eighth, and that's all she wrote as they dropped that first game at Dooley Health and Care Field 5-4. Wednesday was a 7-0 loss. Nothing to write home about there for the Boomers. And then Thursday in Joliet, as I said, Bill Murray has partial ownership of this Joliet Slammers team. I was half expecting to see him there on that theme night, but there was still a bunch of Stay Puft Marshmallow guys, and the Windy City Ghostbusters were there in attendance as well. So it was a great time. Unfortunately, the Boomers had a 5-0 lead going into late innings and squandered that as well, plus that ejection I was talking about. So hopefully things get back on track for the Boomers as they are playing the Washington Wild Things, the team that kept them out of the playoffs last year. Last night was Jurassic Ballpark with post-game fireworks, so hopefully you didn't miss that, but you can check them out today at 6:30. That'll be Looney Tunes night with a Tasmanian Devil bobblehead giveaway. Nice. And then Sunday, you'll be in attendance. That is Family Sunday and pregame catch on the field with postgame autographs to conclude with the Washington Wild Things.
I just really quickly looked into the 4th of July series with the Kane County Cougars and the Dogs. It's going to be a flag giveaway on 4th of July, and then Elvis night the night after, and then, of course, Family Sunday following. So
nice.
It's going to be a nice
Had the same birthday
weekend.
as Elvis, fun fact. Yeah,
nice.
August 11th. I'm surprised they didn't save that one.
Real quick, the Boomers have a couple of very important theme nights coming up. Breast Cancer Awareness Night on July 1st against the Florence Yalls. They'll be playing the Yalls again on the 2nd, which is Pro Wrestling Night.
Nice.
Hey-o.
The 3rd will be a post-game fireworks show against the Florence Yalls. And then the Boomers host the Evansville Otters next weekend. Post-game fireworks shows and drone shows on some of those. So check that out. Patriotic bucket hat giveaways galore. It'll be great. That is all we have for you here on The Rise. Thank you for tuning in. Next up is The Truth About Chicago Sports. I am your host, Mike Napolitano, joined as always by Dalton Cooper, Nick Johnson, a great job on the board, and to Brandon Combs for zooming in. Thank you.
Love
we'll
you guys.
see you next week.
Political party poopers got you down? Shake it off and join me